Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Naval Station Norfolk and the commissioning of United States ship Arlington. I am Lieutenant Commander Eric Lull, the ship's executive officer. Our ceremony will commence in just a few moments. Please turn off all cell phones or place them in silent mode for the duration of the ceremony. The ship before you is the 8th ship of the LPD-17 San Antonio class, designed to be the most survivable amphibious vessels ever put to sea. These ships combine 21st century amphibious shipbuilding and warfighting technologies to support current and future Marine Corps aircraft and landing craft, and are capable of taking nearly 1,200 sailors and Marines into harm's way. Arlington is the second of 3 ships named to honor the American heroes of September 11th, 2001. These ships honor those who gave their lives in New York City at the World Trade Center, in Arlington, Virginia at the Pentagon, and in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, where United Flight 93 went down, and to honor the magnificent first responders who performed so selflessly that day. The first was USS New York, LPD-21, commissioned in 2009. And the third ship will be USS Somerset, LPD-25, which will be placed in commission next year. There have been 2 previous ships named USS Arlington. The first was a troop transport that served in the Pacific in World War II. The second was a communications relay ship that also operated in the Pacific Theater during the Vietnam War. This ship, like her county namesake, is strong of spirit. Her Navy Marine Corps team is proud to represent our country and our fellow citizens. Thank you for allowing each of us the privilege to serve our county and our nation. Today's ceremony is a time-honored tradition that began with the commissioning of our Navy's first ship, a captured British schooner, the Margaretta, in 1775. Since that time, thousands of ships have undergone the transition from silent hull to a fully alive warship. Our commissioning crew, hereafter known as plank owners, are in formation among you, and we are ready. Ship's company, attention! Will the guests please rise and remain standing for the arrival of our platform guests? Honors to the Honorable Robert McDonnell, Governor of Virginia, our national anthem, and the Invocation. We welcome and thank the United States Fleet Forces Band, the Sewell's Point Saluting Battery, and our ship's own color guard who assist us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, our platform guests. Lieutenant Victoria Chappell, Chaplain Corps, today's ceremony chaplain. Mr. Ken Cox, President of the USS Arlington AGMR-2 Crew Association, who will assist in setting the first watch. Captain Darren Plath, United States Navy, Program Manager, LPD-17 class ships, Program Executive Office, ships. Captain Arturo Garcia, Commander, Amphibious Squadron 8. Mr. Frederick J. Stefani III, LPD-17 class Program Manager and Executive Director for Amphibious Warfare and Sea Lift, Program Executive Office, ships. Mr. J. Walter Tejada, Chairman, Arlington County Board. Major General John A. Gallinetti, United States Marine Corps retired, Chairman, USS Arlington Commissioning Committee. Rear Admiral Ann Claire Phillips, United States Navy, Commander, Expeditionary Strike Group 2. Mr. Irwin F. Edenson, Corporate Vice President, Huntington Ingalls Industries, and President, Ingalls Shipbuilding. The Honorable Allison Stiller, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Ship Programs. Rear Admiral David Thomas, United States Navy, Commander, Naval Surface Force, United States Atlantic Fleet. Admiral Bill Gortney, United States Navy, Commander, United States Fleet Forces Command. General James Amos, United States Marine Corps, Commandant of the Marine Corps. The Honorable Scott Ridgell, United States Representative, 2nd District, Commonwealth of Virginia. The Honorable James Moran, United States Representative, 8th District, Commonwealth of Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, our ship's sponsor, Mrs. Joyce Rumsfeld, escorted today by Command Master Chief Lawrence Riccatello, United States Navy. Command Master Chief, USS Arlington. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Robert McDonnell, Governor, Commonwealth of Virginia, escorted today by Commander Darren Nelson, United States Navy, Prospective Commanding Officer, USS Arlington. Platform, ready, 2. The national anthem will be presented today by Petty Officer 2nd Class John Buxton. Advance the colors. Salute!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave
Retire the colors. Let four. Ready? Two. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Victoria Chappell, United States Navy, our ship's chaplain, will offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, we gather to celebrate the commissioning of a mighty warship in service to this great nation. Hear our prayers for the lifeblood of USS Arlington, the Marines and sailors who will take her to the fight as the best friend to those in need and the worst enemy to those who oppress. May this day sear in their hearts a connection to the families and first responders of Arlington County. For as the first responders ran in when others ran out, so our young people are charging in to a world in turmoil. By your grace, may this inaugural Navy Marine Corps team and all who will follow them serve with the strength, honor, and fortitude of their namesake, Arlington. Bless them and their families for the sacrifices they will make in answering this higher calling. Lord God, may a spirit of joy and delight, excitement and anticipation fill these proceedings and warm the hearts of all present. We pray all these things in your powerful name. Amen.
Will the guests please be seated? Ship's company, parade, rest! Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Robert McDonnell, Governor of Virginia.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is a historic and wonderful day for the United States Navy and for the 8 million people of Virginia. On behalf of all of them, I bring you greetings. This is a place where just a few miles down the road, in 1607, 144 men and boys landed in a ship from England to start the greatest experiment in human freedom in the greatest country on earth, the United States of America. So it's only fitting that the home of the United States Navy, at least for the East Coast, would be located right here in Norfolk, Virginia. Admiral Gortney, Commander Nelson, Congressman Ridgel, Congressman Moran, Mayor Frame, Mr. Chairman Tejada, and all of the platform guests and all of you men and women who have come here today, I want to bring you greetings and say welcome. It is vitally important that as we commission the USS Arlington today, that we remember what happened September 11th of 2001, when our way of life was attacked in Somerset, New Jersey, and New York City, and in Arlington County, Virginia, at the Pentagon, the home of the United States military. President Washington, first president, a great Virginian, said that the willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional as to how the veterans of earlier wars are treated and appreciated by their nation. I believe Washington was right. What we do here today as we commemorate the sacrifices of the 184 who died on the ground and on Flight 77, as we commemorate those who have served in the military and continue to lay down their lives for their friends, as the scriptures say, it is critically important that we remember the sacrifices of all who wear the uniform, current and past, if we're to get great men and women in the future to come and serve in the military. This is a marvelous ship, over 2 football fields long, 363 Marines and Navy. Can carry up to 800 Marines going to shore. This is going to be a powerful ship for the delivery of American military might around the world. It's an amphibious transport docking ship, one of the 8 now in the San Antonio class, and it's a real honor to have her commissioned here in Norfolk, Virginia today. My only complaint, of course, is that Huntington Ingalls chose to build her in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and not in Newport News, Virginia. But we're getting our fair share, I will say, with the home of the United States military right here in Norfolk, and so many other ships that are built here. I want to thank Secretary Rumsfeld and Mrs. Rumsfeld for being the sponsors of today's event. Mr. Secretary, for your great service to the United States of America. Mrs. Rumsfeld, for you helping to sponsor this today. I'm going to close by thanking all of you that wear the uniform, past and present. Your service to the nation is a sign of your love for your country. The United States military is the greatest force for good that we have in the world today. And on a moment's notice, I know that you are prepared to be called to go and defend the liberties not only of Americans, but of those who you don't even know because you love freedom so much. It's an extraordinary thing, what we have here in America through our men and women in uniform. I want to thank the first responders that are here, many of those that were on site 12 years ago at the Pentagon, for what you did to serve their fellow man. What I saw on that day were firefighters and police and rescue and EMS and others dashing into a building, disregarding their own public safety, that saved lives in a wonderful way. And I want to honor those family members that are here today as well. I was there just a few years ago when we paid tribute to you at the Pentagon, when we created a permanent memorial for all those who died on that spot. But I know many of you are here today as we honor all those who died on that fateful day. America is strong, and she is strong because of the great work of the men and women in uniform. I'm pleased that the United States Navy has chosen to name this great ship after the great city, the great county of Arlington, and I can pledge to you that Virginia will continue to do the work she's done now for 237 years, since the second governor of Virginia, Thomas Jefferson, wrote the words in the Declaration of Independence, to be sure that our liberties are preserved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor McDonnell. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Irwin F. Edenson, Jr., Corporate Vice President, Huntington Ingalls Industries, and President, Ingalls Shipbuilding.
Thank you. Mrs. Rumsfeld, Governor McDonnell, Secretary Rumsfeld, General Amos, Admiral Gortney, Commander Nelson, distinguished platform guests, Rumsfeld family members and friends, shipbuilders, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My role here today is to represent the thousands of men and women who are Ingalls Shipbuilding. Ingalls Shipbuilders, welders, fitters, riggers, electricians, engineers, planners, and cleaners, shipbuilders all, know who serve in the ships we build. Our sons, our daughters, nieces and nephews, friends and neighbors. And we are committed to doing it right and doing it better every day. We focus on our priorities: safety, quality, cost, and schedule, in that order, because we know if we don't get the first two right, the second two don't matter. And we understand that doing our work efficiently and making our ships more affordable is key to our future. Our nation and our Navy needs the ships we build, ships that survive the threat, and ships that can fight when hurt. Ships that go in harm's way and bring sailors and Marines home safely. Ships that serve 40 years. But we also need ships that our nation and our Navy can afford. The fiscal constraints are real, Our mission is clear, and we are confident we are up to the challenge. Ingalls Shipbuilding is honored to have built the USS New York, LPD-21, the soon-to-be USS Arlington, LPD-24, and to be building LPD-25 Somerset, 3 ships that commemorate 9/11, the victims and the heroes. And while we are proud of every ship we build, being a part of the statement we as a nation are making by sending these great ships around the world to defend us, assist those in need, and demonstrate our resolve never to forget, has left its mark. So LPD Arlington is a great ship, and on acceptance trials it was the best LPD yet, and we intend to keep getting better. Some of the men and women who built Arlington are here with us today. Their pride in their craftsmanship is only surpassed by their admiration for those who will serve in her. I would like the Ingalls shipbuilders to stand to be recognized for their hard work and dedication in building this great ship. Shipbuilders, please stand up. Thank you. But today is not about us. Today is about the ship and those who serve in her. We built this ship for a great Navy and Marine Corps, and we wish Commander Nelson, the officers and crew, and the Marines of USS Arlington all the best. You know us as the builders of your ship, but you should also know we are amongst your biggest supporters and deeply appreciate your sacrifice and service. Thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Eatonson. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Bill Gortney, Commander, United States Fleet Forces Command.
Mrs. Joyce Rumsfeld, we're honored to have you join us along with your husband, the Honorable Donald Rumsfeld, and their daughters, Valerie and Marcy. Governor McDonnell, Congressmen and elected officials, Commandant and Flag and General Officers, Secretary Stiller, appointed officials and senior executives, business and community leaders from all around. To our honored and distinguished guests, the first responders and heroes and families of the fallen, welcome to this historic event, a day steeped in tradition to commission our Navy's and our nation's newest warship that will be forever linked to the county for which she is named, Arlington. Within the hour, our brothers and sisters in arms who have successfully completed the first step in their journey, readying the ship and her crew for service, will assume command, set the watch, man the ship, and report for duty. That is when Arlington will truly come to life. This beautiful ship, with the sailors and Marines assigned, will build readiness while conducting joint and fleet operations, preparing to forward deploy. It is a mandate from the American people, for we are a maritime nation that relies on the Navy and Marine Corps team to operate forward together. Like the first responders and heroes inside the Pentagon on that fateful September day, your sailors and Marines must be where it matters, when it matters. No matter the crisis, Arlington is a Navy and Marine Corps team and fighting ship ready to sail and deliver advanced capabilities in combat or in compassion for a humanitarian crisis. Arlington and her crew will put warfighting first. They will operate forward, and they will always be ready. This magnificent team represents the strength of our nation and the character of its people. Committed, perseverant, able to absorb a heavy blow and keep on fighting to preserve the liberty and freedom in our country and around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be here today to pay tribute to the legacy of the people of Arlington, forever etched in our hearts and our minds. Their legacy will be carried on by the men and women who have built her, those who have and who will operate and maintain her, and those who will fight from her decks. For it is our people, the sailors, Marines, civilians, and their families who make the difference and give her strength and character. Commodore, Skipper, Crew of the Arlington, congratulations on a job well done. We are proud of you, and you know the best is yet to come. To the first responders and the families of the fallen, we honor you through our service and a willingness to make sacrifices for you and for all. God bless you, God bless our Navy and our Marine Corps, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Admiral Gortney. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Scott Ridgel, United States Representative, 2nd District, Commonwealth of Virginia.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Virginia's 2nd Congressional District, home to more men and women in uniform than any other congressional district in the country, active duty and retired. It's a very, very special place. Governor McDonnell, and to my friends and colleagues here, Congressman Moran, Congressman Scott, and Congressman Whitman, we thank you for your presence here today. To all of the platform guests, and a special thanks to General Gallinetti and the Navy League of Hampton Roads for organizing today's ceremony. I want to extend a special note of welcome to the former Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld. Welcome, and though today, Mr. Secretary, I think you'll understand that you're not known best by your title here today as Secretary of Defense, but rather by the husband of the sponsor of the ship, your lovely wife, Joyce. And we're so glad that, Joyce, you're with us here today. Many years ago, in 1776, Thomas Paine said this. He said, "Shipbuilding is America's greatest pride, and in which in time she will excel the whole world." Well, his bold proclamation has become a reality. The most recent expression of that is the ship that we commissioned today. The Arlington is a rugged and fully capable warship, and it's crafted by the most capable shipbuilders in the world, the men and women of Huntington Ingalls, and to all who labored in her construction, so many of whom are with us today, from one American to another, and really from all of us to each of you, thank you. You know, the Arlington represents the very best in engineering and craftsmanship, but she is so much more than an expression of man's ability to shape steel. Her true worth is found in her mission. She is at her birth today, and she'll begin to sail the world's oceans in defense of our nation's most noble values. She stands for our resolve to defend this great country and our freedom. It's a freedom that's been paid for at a heavy price. The keel of the Arlington was cast in the memory of those lost in the attacks of 9/11 using steel from the Pentagon. With us today are some of our Gold Star families, those who have lost a loved one in defense of our country, and families who lost a loved one on 9/11. To the families, we're humbled by your presence today, and we stand with you in honoring your loved ones with the commissioning of this fine ship. You know, we salute the sailors of the first Arlington, the USS Arlington, that served during Vietnam, and that mission and that honor will be carried forward in LPD 24. So, Commander Nelson, congratulations on the privilege of being the very first commanding officer of the Arlington. Our prayers of protection are with you and all sailors and Marines who will sail aboard the Arlington today and in the days ahead. So fair winds, following seas, as you and your crew bring the ship to life and you live out the ship's worthy motto: strength, honor, and fortitude. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you, Congressman Ridgel. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable James Moran, United States Representative, 8th District, Commonwealth of Virginia.
Well, good morning. When we drove south from Northern Virginia, Scott, we thought it might be a little warmer down here than it is today. Sorry that you have to sit out there, although I have to say this isn't much cover, is it either? Secretary, Mrs. Rumsfeld, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mr. Myers and Mary Jo Myers, and Commandant and Mrs. Bonnie Amos, it's great to have you with us. We're joined by the Controller of the Defense Department, Mr. Hale, and his wife, and my colleagues, as was mentioned, Bobby Scott and Rob Whitman, and of course Scott, and many of those who have had a direct relationship either in building this ship or in being part of those events that led to its naming. I was talking with Commandant Amos just a little while ago before coming over here, and he was hoping that those who lost loved ones on that tragic day might also be in attendance. I wonder if you might stand if you lost a member of your family on September 11th. I believe there are some there, whether it be in the Pentagon or could we have a Thank you so much for honoring us with your attendance today. Like the Arlington's sister ships, the New York and the Somerset, she is named in commemoration of the attacks of September 11th. The Arlington honors not only those that died on that fateful day, but also the first responders who saved countless others. We're joined by Fire Chief Jim Schwartz of Arlington County, who was there on that day with the members of the Arlington Fire Department, as well as Doug Scott of the Arlington Police Department, Chief Scott, and a number of other first responders who obviously will never forget that day. But this ship is far more than a memorial. She's the third vessel to bear Arlington's name, a testament to that county's long-standing and unshakable commitment to serving our nation. We're joined by the chair of the Arlington County Board, Walter Tejada, his wife Robin. We also have members of the Arlington County Board, Mary Hines and her husband Patrick. We have Chris and Beth Zimmerman here, Jay Fassett and Libby Garvey. I think I've got all the members. All of the county board members are here. Bob Brink, our delegate. A number of people who work on the Arlington County government. Barbara Donnellan is here. Our Arlington County's treasurer, Frank O'Leary, and his wife, Linda, who had much to do with putting this together and ensuring that part of the USS Arlington contained remnants from the Pentagon when it was attacked on that fateful day. On days like this, I am particularly proud to represent Arlington County, not just because it's the home of the Pentagon, but it's also the eternal home of our nation's fallen. In those hallowed grounds of Arlington Cemetery, generations of veterans and their loved ones lay in rest. Bearing Arlington's name with steel recovered from the Pentagon, this ship follows in that long tradition. Because today, while we have gathered to celebrate the ship's commissioning, for decades to come, this ship will be home to sailors and Marines prepared to defend our nation with all means necessary. Teddy Roosevelt famously told Congress in 1902 that, and I quote, "A good Navy is not a provocation to war, it is the surest guarantee of peace." So may the USS Arlington always be our guarantor of peace while it pays honor to those who have fallen. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Congressman Moran. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Allison Stiller, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Ship Programs.
Thanks, EXO. Governor McDonnell, Representatives Moran, Scott, Whitman, and Ridgel, Mrs. Rumsfeld, 9/11 family members and friends, Society of Sponsors President Rosalie Calhoun, distinguished platform guests, officers and crew of Arlington, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm honored to be here today representing Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus at the commissioning of this great amphibious warship, Arlington. I'd especially like to thank Major General John Gallinetti, United States Marine Corps retired, Mary Ellen Baldwin, and the entire Arlington Commissioning Committee who have worked so hard to arrange this event. I'd also like to remember and say thank you to the thousands of sailors, Marines, soldiers, and airmen who are sacrificing so much to keep this great nation free. And to those veterans in the audience, thank you for your service to our nation. To the Navy and industry program offices, you have worked tirelessly to deliver this extraordinarily capable ship. Thank you for your teamwork that has brought us here today. You continue to deliver great warships for our nation. I've worked at the Pentagon for nearly 15 years, and every weeknight as I leave to go home, I pass by the Pentagon Memorial. And every weeknight, I pause to remember everyone who was killed at that site on the morning of September 11th. The Pentagon Memorial is a quiet, reflective place for all of us to remember that day and the lives lost. Today, we commission USS Arlington, a living tribute to those who perished on the grounds of the Pentagon. USS Arlington will soon be brought to life by the sailors and Marines who stand behind you. They, and all who will serve aboard her during her 40-year service to our nation, will honor those individuals who lost their lives that day, reflect the great courage of the first responders from Arlington, and carry the thoughts and prayers of all Americans. This ship will serve as a symbol of our resolve and will execute missions we cannot envision today. She will represent America for decades to come. Commander Nelson and the sailors and Marines who will man this magnificent ship, embrace your namesake and be prepared. You are blessed with a wonderful sponsor, Joyce Rumsfeld. She has bestowed with you grace and responsibility. Take heed and carry the strength, honor, and fortitude as you sail. To everyone here today, we are indeed privileged to witness the commissioning of this fine amphibious warship. May God bless her, her crew, her sponsor, and may God bless America. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our principal speaker, General James Amos. General Amos is a graduate of the University of Idaho and a distinguished aviator who has served in multiple Marine fighter squadrons, in combat during Operation Iraqi Freedom, and as commander of the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force. He has served as Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, where he began his efforts working with the Wounded Warrior Program. He was confirmed as our 35th Commandant of the Marine Corps in September 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, General James Amos.
Allison, thank you for that very warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, it's a lot warmer here in the sun. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, good afternoon. It's great to be back in Norfolk again. My family and I lived here many, many years ago when I was a young major. Our kids still talk about it with great fondness. It's an especially glorious day for the United States Marines and our Navy and Marine Corps team. To all of our distinguished guests who have already been recognized, again, welcome and thank you for being here on this crisply beautiful Saturday afternoon. I continue to be particularly grateful for the many talents of Allison Stiller, our Deputy Assistant Secretary of Navy for Ships. She is a brilliant leader of our shipbuilding programs who, in light of current fiscal crisis has truly learned how to cut Solomon's baby at precisely the exact spot. Welcome, Allison, and thank you for all that you've done. My good friend, Admiral Bill Shortney, thanks for your strong leadership at Fleet Forces Command and for your friendship since our days together on board Roosevelt. Mr. Irwin Edenson, president of Ingalls Shipbuilding, and the entire Huntington Ingalls team who put their keen intellect, their energy, their sweat equity into building this magnificent warship. Thank you, Irwin. You've done it again. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for all the employees for Ingalls one more time, please. Last but certainly not least, I want to recognize, as Congressman Moran has done, the 9/11 families and the first responders. I recognize several of you when you stood up. I think I even recognize the captain's wife for Flight 77 and her son, who is a third class at the Naval Academy. Thank you all for being here today, for your sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if you join me in a round of applause and recognizing with gratitude those great patriots. A welcome addition to the fleet, Arlington represents our country's newest generation of amphibious warships. Make no mistake, this vessel and the many other San Antonio-class amphibious warships represents America's commitment to security throughout the world. The Arlington and the Marines and sailors she will carry will add mightily to the quiver of American diplomacy. The USS Arlington, New York, and Somerset serve as a reminder to us of all that we lost on 9/11. More importantly, they stand as a clear and distinguishable message to those who oppose democracy. This ship and those of her class represent America's resolve. I'd like to take you back with me nearly 12 years ago to that fateful Tuesday morning that changed our lives forever. Our memories are etched with visions of news cameras reporting live the magnitude of what was taking place in the mid-morning hours of September the 11th, when commercial jets hit the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the fields of Pennsylvania. Not since the attack on our fleet at Pearl Harbor in 1941 had our nation's true character been so clearly tested. I remember that crisp fall Tuesday morning well. I was a young one-star general who had moved to a newly renovated portion of the Pentagon on the 4th floor in the outside ring overlooking Arlington Cemetery. It was a wonderful view. Like most Americans that morning, I had the news running on the TV, and I remember sitting spellbound as I watched what was going on in New York City. Like most of us, it wasn't clear what had caused the first crash, but then came the second, and we knew instantly that our country was under attack. I was out of the office at the time when American Airlines Flight 77 slammed into the side of the Pentagon, where my office and my staff were located. Terror, followed quickly by explosions and smoke, and then fire consumed our spaces. My staff miraculously escaped. We never re-entered our offices again. They were completely destroyed. While a modern generation's day of infamy, just as Pearl Harbor was 60 years earlier, I saw the attacks bring out the best of America's character. While it was the worst of times, in many ways it became a defining moment in our lives. The devastating toll of the attacks were eclipsed only by the awe-inspiring stories of heroism that emerged from those days when our nation responded to tragedy with an indomitable spirit, unconditional compassion, fierce national pride and an unshakable resolve. In the words of a great New York patriot and philanthropist, we will never forgive, nor will we ever forget. Heroism and selflessness were commonplace across our great nation that fateful day. There are countless stories of service members and first responders who ran to ground zero to help the many victims, to help their fellow Americans. On the day of these attacks and in the weeks and months that followed, we saw the best of America's character all across our country. Who can forget the flags draped across every bridge and every overpass, the flags attached to every car and truck, and the solemn gatherings of remembrances across our great nation. At that moment, strangers became neighbors. Partisan politics disappeared as partisans became partners. We set aside our personal differences, and we were only defined by a single word. We were Americans. Most importantly, this tragedy reinvigorated the selflessness, the character, and the patriotism of our great country. It demonstrated to the world just who we are and what we stand for. The impossible happened. America changed overnight. All of a sudden, it wasn't about politics anymore. The tragedies of September the 11th galvanized Americans and gave us a resolve and a commitment to something greater than ourselves. Our nation and our neighbors became important again. For me, 9/11 brought out the true character of America and displayed it for all to see. It demonstrated the very best of what America has to offer. Sergeant Major Barrett and I carried those memories and that sense of American unity with us halfway around the world a year later in back-to-back combat tours. 9/11 reminded me that the American spirit and the American character are thriving in countless working individuals in the communities across our great nation. Today, Arlington, along with her fellow capital ships, New York and Somerset, will serve as visible reminders to the peoples of this world that the American spirit, that same spirit that defined our great nation over 237 years ago, is alive and well in the soul of the American people. As Marines, we pride ourselves in maintaining a high state of readiness and a forward-deployed lifestyle. Both allow us to live up to Congress's specific direction to be the most ready when our nation is the least ready. Forward presence matters. It demonstrates commitment. It confirms to our partners that we are all in it together. Deterrence, engagement, and crisis response are not collateral duties to the United States Naval Forces. They are the national security imperatives of our United States Navy and Marine Corps team. They are our raison d'etre. The unmistakable presence of naval vessels loaded with Marines off the coast of a brewing crisis brings a sense of assurance. The mere presence of Arlington will buy time and decision space for our national leaders. It will build trust among our allies and our partners. In today's very dangerous world, you have to be present to make a difference. Virtual presence is actual absence. The Navy and Marine Corps are essential elements in the security of our nation's maritime interests. It has always been that way, and with this mighty warship in our nation's quiver, it will continue so. This San Antonio-class amphibious warship and others like her are a key to our Navy and Marine Corps' sea-based transformation efforts. Arlington's increased capabilities provide enhanced command and control, flight decks for the MV-22 Osprey, and perhaps even the F-35B Joint Strike Fighter. It doubles the well-deck size of all of its predecessors. As Commandant I would particularly love to see this replace all of our old 40-year-old LSD variants in our amphibious ships. For all here from Huntington Ingalls Industries and Shipbuilding, know that your Navy and Marine Corps team will put Arlington to good use. As we celebrate this moment, rest assured that this ship will play an important role in keeping our nation and its interests secured for decades to come. Commander Nelson, all of us on this dais envy your assignment more than you know and wish you great fortune and happy hunting. We know that you, your crew, and our nation's sons and daughters will proudly serve as living reminders of the greatness of the United States of America. Never forget this ship's rich heritage, and never forget the meaning behind its commission. Thank you. God bless the Navy and the Marine Corps, and Semper Fidelis.
Thank you, General Amos. Admiral Gordney, I'd be honored if you joined me at the podium and place Arlington in commission.
Will the guests please rise? Ship's company, attention!
On behalf of the Secretary of the Navy and for the President of the United States, I hereby place United States ship Arlington in commission. May God bless and guide this warship and all who shall sail in her.
Executive Officer, hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant.
Aye, Captain. Ladies and gentlemen, I direct your attention to the ship's mast as we hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant. Quartermaster, hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant. Will the guests please be seated? Captain, the colors and the commissioning pennant are flying over United States ship Arlington.
Very well. I will now read my orders. From Chief of Naval Personnel to Commander Darren Nelson, United States Navy. Subject, Bureau of Naval Personnel Orders number 2341 of 12 October 2012. From Chief of Naval Personnel to Commander Darren W. Nelson, United States Navy. Detach present duty and proceed to pre-commissioning Unit Arlington for duties in conjunction with fitting out. Upon commissioning of Arlington, report for duty as Commanding Officer. Signed, C.A. Colvert, Rear Admiral, United States Navy, Commander, United States Naval Personnel Command. Admiral Gordney, United States ship Arlington is in commission, and I am in command.
Very well.
Executive Officer, set the first watch.
Aye, aye, Captain. Officer of the deck, set the watch.
Set the watch. Aye, sir.
The officer of the deck is the commanding officer's direct representative, and while on watch is responsible for the safe operation of the ship and crew. The long glass is the traditional symbol of an officer of the deck's authority in a ship of the line. We are pleased to have Mr. Ken Cox, a crew member from the previous USS Arlington, here with us today. Mr. Cox will pass the ship's long glass to Ensign Alex Kalish, our first officer of the deck. Our first petty officer of the watch is the ship's senior sailor of the year, Petty Officer First Class Ryan Williams. Our first messenger of the watch is the ship's junior sailor of the year, Petty Officer Third Class Laquita Johnson. And our ceremonial bosun's mate is Petty Officer First Class Pete Whitaker.
Sir, the watch is set.
Very well. Captain, the watch is set.
Very well, XO. We are delighted to have the sponsor, Mrs. Joyce Rumsfeld, with us today. Joyce christened Arlington in Pascagoula, Mississippi on 26 March 2011. Joyce, it'd be my honor if you join me and give the order to man our ship and bring her to life.
Thank you. To the families of 9/11, we will not forget. Officers and crew of the United States ship Arlington, man our ship, bring her to life, and arm the main battery.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the crew of the USS Arlington salutes you. We are proud to serve in your great Navy. Ready, two. Captain, the ship is manned and ready.
Very well. Captain Garcia, United States ship Arlington is manned and ready, and we report for duty.
Very well.
General Amos, request permission to break your flag. Thank you, sir. Executive Officer, break the Commandant of the Marine Corps' flag.
Aye, aye, Captain. Quartermaster, break the flag of the Commandant of the Marine Corps.
Aye, aye, sir.
Captain, the flag of the Commandant of the Marine Corps is flying over United States ship Arlington.
Very well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Darren Nelson, United States Navy. Commanding Officer, USS Arlington.
Ship's Company, parade, rest. Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming to today's commissioning. If the distinguished platform guests will forgive me, I want to say thank you to my best friend and my wife. Thank you for putting up with me for the last 19 years. The numerous moves, late nights at work, countless days away from home, including the last 4 years as a single mom of 3, while I was the geographical bachelor in Newport, for War College and the CO Pipeline, in the last 2.5 years in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The Navy spouse is truly the toughest job in the Navy. And you do it better than I ever could. I wouldn't have made it here today without you. Thank you, and I love you more and more each year. To my 3 children, Janelle, Logan, and Trevor. Hey, you guys can't do this. You're getting me going. Thank you for supporting me as well over these years. I know I've missed birthdays, softball games, soccer games, baseball games, and concerts. You always greet me with great hugs and kisses every time I come home. I love you all very much, and I will always think you every night when I'm away from home. To our distinguished platform guests, thank you all for coming out, taking time out of your busy schedules here with us on this monumental day. Governor McDonald, Congressman Ridgel, Congressman Moran, it wouldn't be right to have a commissioning here in Virginia without you here today. Thank you very much. Mrs. Rumsfeld, our ship sponsor, I don't think I could have asked for a better sponsor. As a former Navy spouse, you always treat the crew and myself as family members. When our sailors were in D.C. last year for Memorial Day Parade, Mrs. Rumsfeld and Secretary Rumsfeld invited all 40 sailors into their home just so they could get to know them. Mrs. Rumsfeld made sure she had a chance to talk with each and every one of them as she was developing that long-lasting bond that will live on with Arlington throughout her service life. Commandant, thank you for being our principal speaker here today. There's no better way to show off the Navy's latest and greatest ship than to have the leader of our main battery here at our commissioning. Secretary Stiller, during my tenure here with Arlington, I've been to 5 christenings, 3 commissionings, and each time you were there, actually one of them, you were the sponsor of the commissioning of the USS Mississippi. You always bring enthusiasm and joy to those occasions, and I'm happy to have you here today. I would also like to acknowledge the 9/11 family members here today. Without your family's ultimate sacrifice, we would not have such a proud name. Please understand, though, that Arlington is not a memorial to that tragic day. We are a warship, and we are prepared to do our nation's bidding whenever the time comes. Today is a celebration of life. As the sailors and Marines ran aboard and brought our ship to life, there were 184 angels that followed them aboard, and their spirit will always live with Arlington. We are a living reminder to the world that the United States We are a living reminder to the world that the United States will not tolerate terrorism, and we have the fortitude to persevere. There is a poem in the memorial book that I received from the family members that I'd like to read. Even as the phoenix rises from the flames, so flies the eagle, bearing freedom on its wings. The stellar eagle that stands before you today will do just that. We will be the bearer of freedom wherever we go throughout the world. The first responders from Arlington County and the neighboring counties of Arlington, thank you for your hero's welcome 2 weeks ago as we pulled into port. And thank you for your support throughout the commissioning process. The first responders are the ones that defend and support our families while we defend freedom throughout the world. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I also want to welcome our shipmates from the previous Arlington AGMR2. You're part of our heritage, and you'll always be welcome on board Arlington. I'm proud to call you shipmate. To the shipbuilders of Huntington Ingalls Industry, thank you for all the blood, sweat, and tears that you poured into this 684 feet and 25,000 tons of warship that towers before you today. If any of you ever had a chance to live on the Gulf Coast or even visit during the summer months, you know that a lot of sweat was poured into this ship. Let's face it, most amphibious ships are not glorious to look at. But with our stealthy capabilities and design, it definitely gives this amphibious ship, the Gator, a true warship look. And again, to our shipbuilders, shipmates, thank you for building us Arlington. Mr. Stephanie, Captain Plath, and the rest of the program office, thank you for having the strength and fortitude to keep the dream of the LPD-17 class alive. I know it wasn't always easy, but you kept at it, and we are now one of the most sought-after platforms for the combatant commanders. General Gallinetti, our commissioning chairman, and Mr. Jim Pebley, the co-chairman, and the rest of the commissioning committee, you've done a wonderful job putting this event together this week. All I could say is, wow, do you guys know how to put on a show? Thank you so very much. The Navy League as well. The Navy League always takes the leads in most of the commissionings throughout our nation. It's a wonderful organization, and they do everything they can for the sailors and the Marines. It's great to have a partner that will always go the extra mile for us. I also like to thank the USS Bush, the backdrop today, and the Naval Station Norfolk. They bent over backwards this week helping us out. Bush gave us manpower wherever we needed it, and every time we needed to fudge some rules a little bit, the Naval Station, they kind of turned a blind eye to us and said, all right, just this once. Admiral Gortney, Admiral Thomas, Admiral Phillips, and Commodore Garcia, I know you've been watching Arlington over the last couple of years. If you'll let me brag about this crew a little, I want you to know what an outstanding ship you're getting. Arlington has been setting the standards from the start. First was the RADNAV team, Radar Navigation team, who scored a 98 on their certification, the highest score on the East Coast in the last several years. Our anti-terrorism training team also scored a 96% and completed their certification 2 days ahead of schedule. In fact, the last day, the inspection team improvised their drill, trying to make it even harder to make Arlington fail that drill. They failed. Arlington exceeded their expectations. Next were the engineers with their light-off assessment, scoring a 97%, the second highest score the senior inspector has ever given. Deck Department received the best ever assessments from Naval Beach Group assessment of the AMW crane certification and scored 100% for our SAR certification. Air Department also set the standards, qualifying the flight deck the first day underway. And on our way home, we conducted 190 deck landing qualifications. There's a saying, go big or go home. Well, Air Department did both. We landed the V-22 Osprey and the MH-53 Sea Stallion on the flight deck, similar to the two that are on the flight deck today. These are the two largest aircraft in the Navy and Marine Corps that can land on our flight deck. And they did this all while transiting home. And let's not forget our supply department, who fed us, including the very first day we took possession of this ship on December 7th. It wasn't a big meal, it was just grilled cheese, but making a meal on board a ship the day you move aboard is a pretty amazing feat. And our medical department keeping us healthy and safe as we transited up here as well. While our crew is busy taking delivery of the ship, our sailors gave an enormous amount of their free time to the community. Last year, we won 4 of the 5 community service awards and Midlance nomination for the Bainbridge Award. Though we did not win the Bainbridge Award, but as a brand new command, we were number 3 Navy-wide. As a former member of the USS Bainbridge CGN-25, the command that the award was named for, I couldn't be prouder of our crew for placing in the top 3 for the Navy Community Service. As a son of a history teacher, I always teach our sailors about heritage, who we are, why we are here, and make sure that no one ever forgets those who lost their lives that day giving us our name. For it is our duty to have the strength to fight terrorism, the honor those that have gone before us, and to have the fortitude to continue the fight as long as necessary. As a small town boy from Rushville, Nebraska, with a population of 1,100, I would have never believed anyone if they would have told me I'd be in command of a warship today, especially one that carries 1,200 sailors and Marines. That's right, my hometown can fit on board Arlington. Throughout my career, I've always heard the commanding officers say that being the CO is the greatest job in the Navy. I believe them now. It's not because I'm the commanding officer. It's great because I get to work with our nation's finest sailors every single day. I couldn't have picked a finer crew. It is truly my honor to lead our nation's best and brightest sailors. Thank you all for coming today. God bless you, USS Arlington. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Ship's company, attention! Will the guests please rise? Chaplain Chapel will now offer the benediction.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, Creator God, United States ship Arlington has been fully and properly commissioned to serve our country, going out in the name of the families of Arlington County. May we that sail her and all Americans and all lovers of peace and freedom never forget the sacrifices of Arlington County, and never forget those precious lives that were lost that dreadful day. Turn this commissioning by human hands into a divine commission by your mighty arm, so strong to save, to make a difference in this world. Projecting the power of the Navy Marine Corps, may Arlington thus bring peace through strength wherever she sails. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Chapel. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please remain seated until our platform guests have departed the ceremony. Ship's company, parade, rest. For those interested in a closer look at our great ship, a tour route has been established. For your safety, please remain on the marked tour route. We have guides on station to assist you and answer any questions. This concludes our ceremony. It was truly an honor to have you join us. Ship's company, attention! Dismissed!